YouTube. I can't believe I missed this, dude. This is nuts. I got my notifications on for the drink. I probably did this 2 days ago. So if I missed this, you guys, please send it to me so I can cover it. Because I love the drinker. Make sure you get over there. Subscribe to the Critical Drinker. Tell them that Zach sent you or Blitzway sent you. Good pals. I always leave comments on his videos when I watch them. I'm probably gonna leave a comment on this one as well. Like, he's hitting beat for beat points that we all been saying for the longest. But he's finna give his full review for The Last of Us. Let's check it out.
Well, gosh darn it. Sometimes modern entertainment manages to surprise even me. Usually in a bad way, to be fair. Like when you think fantasy shows can't possibly get worse than The Rings of Power, and then along comes the double whammy of Witcher, Blood Origin, and Willow.
Rings of Power. Oh, man.
It was like a 1-2 punch from a boxer who dipped his gloves in human feces just before the fight. But at the other end of the spectrum was The Last of Us on HBO, a show that most fans of the games went into with about as much hope and enthusiasm as me at an AA meeting. Video game adaptations aren't exactly known as bastions of quality filmmaking, and the second game in The Last of Us franchise had left a sour taste in people's mouths. And yet, with each new episode, The Last of Us didn't just manage to hang in there, it actually seemed to get stronger and more popular. My own assessment of the first 3 episodes was cautious optimism mixed with some lingering concerns about where it was all leading. Would it stick the landing, or would it crash and burn in spectacular fashion? Well, now that I've seen the whole season, let's take a look and see how it did. You've probably seen my previous...
By the way, I'm in the middle of playing Last of Us 2 right now. Before they start to... Because we already know the second season is probably going to be a little longer, because Last of Us 2 is way longer than Last of Us 1. I think Last of Us 2 is like 30 hours or something like that. 32 hours. Am I wrong? Yeah, it's 32 hours. So when they do drop the second season, I will be able to actually compare them beat for beat, because I will be uploading on my YouTube channel and be able to go and watch it. So it'll be like I've been to play the game and watch the series, so I'll be able to compare. But the biggest gripe I have with this is that we didn't get a lot of infected. That was my only problem. We saw one infected, and that was in that one scene when they came out the hole.
Review, so I'm not going to bore you to death with another detailed plot summary. The high-level version is as follows. Zombie mushroom virus takes over the world, and 20 years later, main character has to escort the girl who's the key to everything across the country to make a cure. They fight some bad guys, dodge some infected, and gradually get to know each other until they reach their destination, where the main character has to make a tough decision about the girl who's the key to everything. The 2 biggest questions about video game adaptations can basically be boiled down to, will it stay faithful to the source material, and if it does, will it actually do a good job adapting it? And the answer in this case is yes and yes. Well, mostly at least. There's a few deviations and problems that I'll talk about in a minute, but for the most part, I think the last...
I was kind of worried when they did that whole gay scene with Bill and them, because I was like, oh no, they about to do some woke shit. But I found out that the director, Neil Druckmann, and the director for HBO series who's with him, turns out they wanted to do this because they felt like Bill and them didn't get enough shine story in the game to understand why he self-deleted himself in the game compared to in the show that they just died together. But I don't know. It's weird.
Last of Us does a pretty fucking good job adapting some challenging and complex source material and doing it in a way that seems mostly fair and balanced. The broad strokes of the game's story are all present and correct here, and some of the most memorable moments are replicated practically beat for beat, especially in the final episodes. The production values, the look and feel of the world, the emotional tone, and the performances are mostly spot on, and overall I came away from it thinking, good job HBO. Not perfect, but it could have been worse. A lot worse. Now, all that being said, there's definitely some issues that I want.
Bro, Rings of Power is not it is over with for that. I thought he was gonna do the Resident Evil that Netflix did too, because that was hard garbage too. Don't mess with the nerd stuff, man. I'm telling you, bro, we get mad, real mad. It's just to the point where I just be like, cut this off and I'm finna go watch something else.
Want to cover, mostly because they're issues that could have been avoided and hold the show back from being truly great. First and foremost of which is the pacing. The season's split into 9 episodes, the first of which are mostly there for backstory and world building. 2 more are devoted almost entirely to flashbacks that have almost no connection to the main narrative, which leaves only 6 real episodes to cover the entire storyline of a game that takes about 20 hours to finish. The result is a narrative pace that judders awkwardly from morbidly obese glacier to hyperactive 6-year-old after 2 cans of Red Bull. The 2 flashback episodes only
I don't
add
know
to
why
the
you drink a
problem
lot
by
of Red
delving
Bull.
into self-indulgent backstory that didn't really need to be told. I defended episode 3 at the time because I thought it was well acted and poignantly written, but even I'll admit that it didn't really need to be there, especially when we were still getting to know the main characters at that point. But by far the worst offender was episode 7, which tries to awkwardly crowbar in a piece of superfluous DLC content from the games. It goes nowhere and adds nothing of value.
Me personally, I feel like they should have did the DLC at the end. That was the big problem. Why a lot of people was like, why they doing the DLC this year? I saw all the comments for this. People were saying, why they doing it? Because in one of my reviews I did, check out my last one reviews. They will be at the top right corner, so click them and check them out. But in one of my reviews, someone actually commented and said, why they do the DLC in the middle of the series instead of just dropping it at the end? Because if I remember correctly, and it's fresh in my head, you have to beat the game first, then play the DLC, because the DLC was like a spoiler to what Ellie was doing in the story. And if you played the DLC first, you would have been spoiled the entire game. You'd be like, what the hell?
And generally took me out of what should have been a gripping point in the story. And I can't shake the feeling that it was included to stroke Neil Druckmann's ego rather than elevating the narrative. Ellie's gay, by the way. On the subject of Ellie, one of my initial gripes were the clumsy attempts to make her a strong, empowered girl boss right off the bat, instead of earning that kind of development later, and the general unsuitability of the actress playing her. She always seemed to be the one in charge of every conversation, able to win every argument, cope with things that others couldn't, and telling Joel when it was time to move out like she was the real leader of the expedition. It was annoying because the desire to make her Joel's equal the moment they meet each other ultimately undercut the shift in dynamics that happens later in the story. But now that I've made it to the end, I can say that things at least do improve as the story progresses. The show gives her some moments of genuine vulnerability and emotion that she badly needed. Yeah, she still makes a point of doing the exact opposite of what Joel says in almost every situation, proving that there's a fine line between being an independent, strong-willed adolescent and a stubborn, annoying arsehole that puts everyone's lives in danger because she won't listen to people who know more than her. And yeah, Bella Ramsey resembles Ellie about as much as I look like Jennifer Lopez, and her acting range could charitably be described as specific. I'm still not convinced that she was the right choice for the role, but overall, I have to admit that she did at least grow on me as the season progressed.
Yeah, she kind of grew on me too. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be, but I still prefer somebody that looks like Ellie, because it's just she's a redhead. She's not. I don't think she's red. The actor that played, I don't even think she's red. I think she's blonde hair. They got a blonde hair woman to play Ellie, but it didn't bother me that much. I was like, hey, let's give her a try, because I saw a lot of comments of people saying, oh my god, I can't stand her. I hate her already. She's so annoying. And I was like, oh my god, let's just wait. Let's just wait. Let's see what she brings to the table. And I gotta say, she's improving at the end. At the end, she most definitely improved. But the good news is, I want to say this and get this out the way. When season 2 starts, spoiler alert, I don't think we're gonna have the same actors play these characters. They might do it like a flashback or showing them what they did. But because Ellie's a teenager, so they gotta have her age. So somebody's gonna play older Ellie in an older version of Joel. He might still play Joel with the gray hair, but I know for a fact Ellie's gonna be a whole lot older, a little bit taller too. So fingers crossed.
Most of the heavy lifting though was left to Pedro Pascal, who does a solid job with the material he's given. I say that because there's a definite distinction between the game and TV versions of Joel, and Pascal's version is clearly a different spin on the character. Less assertive and dominant, more damaged, traumatized and unsure of himself, and starting to slow down as age takes its toll. There's times when he comes dangerously close to being weak and whiny, like you begin to wonder how he even made it this far in such a world, but somehow the script always manages to pull it back just before I get totally disengaged. And well, the final episode proves that he's still very much a force to be reckoned with if you cross him. Another thing that kind of bothered me were the infected, in that, well, we really don't get much of them.
Yeah, that's another thing I want to talk about, because we're almost at the end of this video. They didn't show us enough infected, but from what I heard, this is what I heard. This is probably a rumor anyway. But from what I heard, they said that the only reason why they didn't show a lot of infected because the first season didn't get a big budget. But now that the show is bringing in numbers and it's making the numbers that it's supposed to be making, HBO is dumping more money into it. So the second season and it's been confirmed because IGN confirmed it, that the second season will have more infected in here, and then this one. And I also heard that the reason why they did put a lot of infected in here, it would have made it a lot tougher for Jordan them to get to point A to point B. That's why they said they didn't put a lot of bloaters in here, because in a real life scenario, I think Neil Druckmann said that bloaters and clickers are they're very overwhelming and very dangerous. Like to encounter multiple of those type of infected. Like runners and stalkers are, cause we didn't even see the stalkers, and stalkers were in one, yeah. So I was like, I was actually mad we didn't get to see a stalker. We saw like 2 clickers, maybe 3. And then we saw 1 bloater. That was it. That's it. Where's the rest of them at? Where's the stalker? We saw plenty of runners. They had plenty of runners there, but we just didn't see the stalkers. Because stalkers is the second stage. Third stage is clickers. Fourth stage is bloaters. And then the 5th stage is the acid jumbo. They ain't gonna show them to part 2.
And it's a shame, because for a post-apocalyptic zombies show, we're a bit light on the old zombies. They tend to show up on their own for little jump scares when it's time to write someone out of the story, but apart from a big blowout action scene in episode 5, they basically fade into the background for the rest of the season. Again, I can't help but think that cutting out those 2 superfluous flashback episodes would have freed up a lot of time and money to work in a bit more tension and action scenes. There's also this weird reluctance to engage with the morality of the world that they're...
Again, like I said, they said that HBO dumped more money into it, so we will be seeing more infected in the second season. So don't worry, guys. We will be getting infected. It's been confirmed.
Living in. Like, at one point, a character keeps referring to the military government of the quarantine zones as fascists, but when Ellie points out that they're literally the only thing holding human society together, her only answer is, "You're so annoying when you argue like this." Fuck off, Riley. This is an important point that needs to be addressed, you self-righteous spam sandwich. If you represent the terrorist group that wants to overthrow the government, then you need a...
By the way, I was actually mad we didn't get... Since they wanted to do the whole DLC early, I was actually mad they didn't... Did they make it snow? I don't think they did when she went to go get the medicine. Because they skipped some stuff. There was a scene in the DLC show Ellie going to the helicopter to get the first aid medicine to treat his wound, to stitch it up. And I was mad we didn't get that scene. I was like, yo, why we didn't get that scene? Because that scene was, they cut that out. That's actually in the game. And that actually takes place before the DLC. It shows Ellie going to get first aid for Joel while he's out unconscious. And then that's when this flashback happened. But you don't play the flashback until you beat the game. Which I was like, where is it at?
a better justification than I just don't like them because they order people around. I mean, what's to say that you guys would be any better at running things? Do you have some kind of master plan for how to manage dwindling resources and keep the infected at bay? Ellie's gay, by the way. Likewise, when Ellie encounters a group of cannibals, she's bluntly asked what she would do if she was in their situation. Would she watch her entire community starve to death, or would she contemplate the unthinkable to keep them alive? The thing is, there's no particular attempt to frame this as the desperate actions of a group pushed to breaking point. It's just dismissed as evil and then wiped away with a big fight scene before Ellie or the audience has a chance to think about it. There's also a weirdly out-of-place scene where one character in an isolated farming community proudly declares that they're communists because everyone's expected to pull their weight and contribute to the group.
Nah, it ain't like that.
It is that, literally. This is a commune. We're communists.
That's not communism, that's survival. That being said, most of these gripes are really just...
And that's another thing that bothered me. They changed Tommy's wife. Don't get me wrong, I'm 100% black. I don't mind it. It's just, they're changing the race of these characters. In the game, Tommy's wife is blonde hair, blue eyes. I just played through part 1 and beat it. It's on my YouTube channel. Go check it out. She's blonde hair, blue eyes, and she's fine and hot. Don't get me wrong, the black chick is hot and fine too, but I just wish they didn't change his wife. It doesn't make sense. I guess they, you know what? Somebody actually told me, I didn't want to say this, but somebody actually told me, they said that it's impossible for a blonde hair and a blue eyes woman to take charge of an entire fortress. It's impossible. She would, I'm just leave it alone at
Just
that.
minor criticisms in an otherwise solid adaptation. The big question was, would The Last of Us keep the perfectly balanced, awesomely ambiguous ending to the game that brought the main character's storyline full circle and posed a bunch of fascinating moral questions without trying to push the audience either way? Or would it try to reshape it to better accommodate the events of the second game? Well, I'm pleased to say that they got it right with this one, delivering a season finale that hits all the same emotional high points as the game, and wisely doesn't try to fuck with what was already a great piece of writing. It's just as brutal, uncompromising, and perfectly structured, and ends on the same note of cautious, flawed optimism. Two people facing up to an uncertain future together, each willing to compromise for the sake of the other. Oh, if only they knew what was in store for them. Ultimately, The Last of Us might not be the perfect adaptation we all wished for, and in most respects I generally consider the game to be a richer and more satisfying piece of storytelling, but judging the show on its own merits, I have to admit they did a pretty good job overall. It's a well written, well acted, and often gripping post-apocalyptic drama that respects its source material and its audience. Imagine that in 2023. And if you're willing to go into it with an open mind and see it as what it is, an adaptation of an existing piece of source material, then well, I think you're probably going to get something out of The Last of Us. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, that was I think that was everybody's problem, that from what I've saw, they was like, oh man, that's not enough infected in this. And I agree with them. I was like, bro, where is all the infected? This is the show is called Last of Us. It's supposed to feel threatening, terrifying. You're supposed to be in fear when you see these things, and we just didn't get any of that. And I was like, what in the actual what they happened? But from what I heard, there was two major problems that was causing the infected for them not to have a lot of infected. There was a budgeting problem. Well, it wasn't really a budget problem. HBO wanted to see, was the show gonna hit numbers, and this is usually what happens with studios. They want to see if this show gonna make them some money. Then they be like, all right, dump another 50 million in there and go nuts. But from what I'm hoping, because Neil Druckmann is working with this on this, that the second season y'all finna be in for a rude week. I can't wait till they get to the Rat King. I ain't gonna spoil that for you, who y'all know what that is. But just wait till they get to that part. Ooh, I can't wait. I wonder how they gonna have her fighting though, because fighting that thing can't be fun. I hope they don't skip it. If they skip it, I'm gonna say that for later. Till we get there. Anyways, guys, make sure you guys like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below. Make sure y'all check out my Last of Us review. Top right corner, it's gonna be right here. Up here, go ahead and hit that button up there and go check out my reviews and see what I gave the show. I think I gave it the whole entire season. I gave it either a 4.8 or a 4.9. So some other people gave it a 4.5 or a 4.6. I gave it a 4.8 or 9 because I think it was out of 5 stars because they actually did a really good job. Besides that gay episode, you take that gay episode out, the whole season to me deserves a 4.8 at least or a 9. Wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's good. It's most definitely, I would say, watch it and check it out. But anyways, guys, I'm gonna see you guys in the next one. I'll catch you guys later. Don't forget to hit that notification bell, like, and share, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Let's check this joint on out, y'all.